Hello everyone, we are back and we are excited. Today we're going to be talking about what Jesus says about judging others. And I was just talking to Sarah how it's crazy how relevant this is. 2,000 years ago, what Jesus is saying about all these things, whether it's money, anxiety, or like judging other people, like it's incredibly relevant to what we're going through today. And so recap real quick as I have been, and it's been growing. The past 2 weeks, starting with the Sermon on the Mount, we've covered the Beatitudes, salt and light, the law, anger and hatred, adultery and divorce, retaliation, love your enemies, doing good in secret, praying like Jesus, the Lord's Prayer, fasting, money, anxiety, and today, judging others. So if you missed any of those, you can go back and watch them. But like I said, it never ceases to amaze me how relevant Jesus is. So it's really late, so we're just going to let Sarah keep yawning here. I might yawn once or twice.
Sorry, I always yawn, guys.
Alright, see, I'm judging Sarah, so, this is a good thing here. But, so, here, Jesus is addressing his followers on judging others. And Jesus, you okay?
I'm good.
Jesus didn't say that the world would know us. Do you need a blanket?
No, I'm good.
Alright, we're good, guys. We can keep going. Jesus didn't say that the world would know us by being judgy. Jesus said that the world would know us by loving other people. But obviously something is wrong, because that's not always the case. So here's a question that I want you guys to think about. Have any of you been judged before? Have you been judged before?
Yeah, by you all the time.
But what by me? Love you. Yes, we have been judged before. It's not fun. How many of you have judged someone before? Spouses judge each other a lot. The truth is, for both questions, the answer is yes for all of us. We know what it's like to be judged, and we know what it's like to judge someone. And so I think that we can all agree that it's not good. And so Jesus points this out in his Sermon on the Mount. Sarah, if you could read this right here in Matthew 7, 1 through 6.
Okay. Matthew 7, 1 through 6. Judge not, that you be not judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when there is a log in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Do not give dogs what is holy, and do not throw your pearls before pigs, lest they trample them underfoot and turn to attack you.
Yeah, don't get attacked. Moral of the story, don't get attacked. No, I'm teasing here. So Jesus basically starts out saying, don't judge. Like, that's just straight up. So unless you really want to be judged too. So here's our question. We're going to be answering questions back and forth to make it discussional. And as you guys see, I'm not like chopping up all these edits. We want to make it feel a little bit more natural and lighthearted, just like we'd have fun if we were in youth group and let Sarah yawn in the back. We don't see her yawn because she's in the back the whole time. Right now, you got a front row seat. Someone commented the other video that she had yawned like 13 times during the video. So again, if you want to count how many times, great.
Thanks,
let
guys.
us know. So, going off of that, question number 1. Why do you think we are quick to point the faults of others? Or to point out the faults of others, even ones that we're guilty of. So why do you think that sometimes we're quick to point out the faults of other people?
I think because sometimes it's easier to see in other people than it is to see in ourselves.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Because we look at ourselves different than we look at other people.
Yeah, I think it has to do with pride and with a lack of humility, that we don't use the same standard for other people that we do ourselves. Jesus says whatever measure we use to judge other people, that same measure is going to be used to judge us. And so I think too often we can be playing doctor or psychiatrist with other people's lives instead of just focusing on our own. Yeah. If we took time to actually focus on our own lives instead of worrying about everyone else's, I think Jesus says, Jesus isn't saying that we shouldn't care for other people, or look out for those who need help, but it's very clear what he's saying, that we need to stop judging people. So you can ask me this question here.
How do we balance the law of the Bible and also not judging people?
This is tough. So, like, you want to be holy and you want to live a holy life, and you think of, like, the Puritan movement, and I know that most of you guys watching this probably don't know much about it, but you probably heard of the Puritans, like, in the beginning of America, and, like, the Pilgrims, like, there was a big Puritan holy movement, and they wanted to form a Christian society, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, and it also doesn't always mean it's a good thing either in the way that it can be done about. And so, one of the good things have been was that there would have been just and holy laws, and that everyone would have gotten along. But the problem is you can't really enforce that too well. And so when you try enforcing holiness into other people's lives who are unwilling to try to be holy or accept the holiness from God, then it's not going to go out too well. And so we need to obey the laws of the Bible for ourselves first before we try to have other people obey them. That doesn't mean I'm going to tell other people to just keep on sinning until I master sin. Like, that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is I need to focus on, like, obeying Scripture, and then I also need to tell other people about Jesus, but not micromanage them. When I was a new Christian, I would try to micromanage my other friends who became Christians. And so I guess when my friends were new Christians, I would try to be like, do this and do that and give this much in the offering plate and blah, 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 instead of just encouraging them in their walk with Christ. So, you alone will be accountable for your actions, and your job isn't to control other people, but to speak the truth in love. So, Sarah, how do you speak the truth in love without coming across as judgy?
I think one really important thing is by having a relationship with that person. By first loving them, and then if you have a relationship with them, that opens up the door for you to communicate something that they might be doing that's not right.
Yeah, like if there's someone that you know or someone that you love and you're talking to them, what's the word where the family gets together and they have like an intervention kind of thing? Intervention? Yeah. Or like, it's not like they go up to some random stranger like, hey, you're overweight, you need to go to the gym. Or like, hey, stop smoking. That. Yeah. Or hey, stop smoking that cigarette. Or like, hey, you point at someone's ankle, why'd you get that tattoo? Like, you can just go up to a random stranger. That's not what we're supposed to do. And even to our friends, like, don't be a jerk about it. But you need to speak truth and love. So we need to speak truth. And truth can sting sometimes, and that's why it needs to be in love, that we don't come across as judgy. And so if there's someone that I know that has been getting into a lifestyle that is not good for them, that's not healthy for them, that's being destructive, I'm going to, because I care about my friend, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, like, he's going to do whatever makes him happy, but then, like, in the end, makes him depressed and broke and, like, destitute. Like, no, I'm not going to let that happen for my friend. Ultimately, he's going to make whatever actions he's going to make, but I can speak the truth in love and not have to be judgy. So you can ask me this question.
When did Jesus say we can help take the speck out of our brother's eye, and why?
So Jesus didn't say that we can't take the speck out of our brother's eye. This is what he says here. He says, first take the log out of your own eye, then you will be able to see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. And so I think that's really important for us, that we need to first focus on taking the speck out of our own eye, or the log out of our own eye first. Before I try to fix someone else's problems, even problems that are related, I need to be able to focus on my own issues and my own things. And so for you guys watching that have siblings, sometimes it's really easy to, like, it's always the sibling's fault. It's always my brother or my sister's fault, or blah, 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 blah. But you're a sibling too. And, look at the log in your own eye also. And so I think sometimes we need to have a moment of reflection and looking at ourselves and saying, why am I thinking this way? And so I think sometimes having a log in our eye, and obviously it's an exaggeration that she's saying, because, like, people have specks in their eyes, but, like, we have a log. Like, we're just so blind to the fact that we're all so messed up and broken. Paul says that before we were who we are today as Christians, we were, and then he lists off a bunch of sins. We were what these people were. And so I think we need to realize that when we can be judgy to other people, that before we had Jesus, we were just like the people that we want to judge the worst. A lot of times we were just like them. So Sarah, and you guys, when I ask these questions too, I want you guys to think about them for yourselves too. That's what this is about. If you want to write any of them down in the comment section, you're welcome to. But when do you feel judged by others? And then what does it feel like?
That's a hard question.
Maybe when you're driving.
By you.
or vice versa?
I don't know. Maybe like if I'm somewhere and my kids are being loud or something, I feel like people are judging me because of that, and it doesn't feel good because it's not something I can control.
Yeah, definitely. I would say having your kids out in public is very difficult to do. One of the times I feel judged by others is when I'm not dressed for the occasion. If I go to the store and I'm just like sweatpants and a t-shirt and like obviously I don't really do my hair because it's cut right now, so I can't really do it either. Like it doesn't change. But yeah, I guess I feel judged if I'm not dressed for the right occasion. Sometimes I don't really know if I'm going to an event how dressy it should be, and then I'm like the only one not wearing like a suit and tie, and I'm like, oh, like I go to a pastor's meeting in like shorts and a t-shirt, and like everyone's wearing a tie, and I'm like, like I could feel judged. And so, but that doesn't mean that they're judging me. But yeah, it doesn't feel good. But this is a great question that we have next, and so. Do you think that people can come across as judgmental without trying to be?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just is the instance that I was just saying right there. That sometimes people can feel judged by us without us actually even judging them. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit and why that is. So, some people don't want to be around church people because they judge. And so some Christians are known for being judgy. That's not always the case though. Like I know a lot of Christians who are not like that at all. Like there's a stereotype out there. And I agree that the stereotype is definitely one way, but a lot of Christians I know, a lot of my Christian friends, a lot of them I know really aren't that judgy. Okay? Like if we think of like older people, if you're watching this, in general in society, older people in general can be a little bit more judgy. That's just a stereotype, but that's not necessarily true either. I know a bunch of older people that aren't judgy, and then a lot that are. And so just like younger people can be judgy. But what I'm saying is you can't just go by stereotypes. And there's a stereotype that the church is very judgy. I have a lot of Christian friends who are not judgy. And then I know other people in the church that are. And so that's not always the excuse. And so let's look at this. If you go into a place of holiness, what can happen is it can reveal what's lacking in one's heart. And so that's supposed to point us to Jesus, but it can also make people feel uncomfortable, and it can turn them away from Jesus. And so sometimes people feel judged when I say that I'm a pastor. If I tell someone that I'm a pastor, like I can see it in their eyes sometimes, they feel judged, not because I've judged them, but because they know what I stand for. And so when someone stands for truth, or they stand for like this, these are the principles, and someone's not living that life, then it reminds them of the time that they were with their family, and like they know they're not living right. And so that does happen sometimes. And we're going to look at this in John 3:19. And as you guys always know, I like it to get the whole picture. I don't want to just say, hey, like, don't judge. And like anytime we ever make anyone feel uncomfortable, that's wrong. Well, we need to be aware of us making other people feel uncomfortable, but we also need to understand that by us following the truth, that in itself is divisive, and that in itself can make other people feel judged, but it can also bring other people to Jesus. So let's look at this with the right heart, because Jesus has the right heart in mind here. Yeah. John 3:19, 3 verses after John 3:16. John 3:19, the light has come into the world, and people loved the darkness rather than the light, because their works were evil. For everyone who does wicked things hates the light and does not come into the light, lest his works should be exposed. But whoever does what is true comes to the light, so that it may be clearly seen that his works have been carried out by God. So this is what was important here. This is what I took away. For everyone who does wicked things hates the light and does not come into this light, lest his work should be exposed. So what do you think, like, how that would apply to people today with, like, stepping into a church?
I think sometimes when people come to church, they hear the truth and it makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think even when the truth is spoken in love, sometimes we need to be aware that it can still hurt or offend other people. And that's why we need to be so humble about it. There's a lot of people that would never, like, in a million years, step foot inside a church door because they feel like they'd be so judged. A lot of times it's because they already know what most of the truth is. They already know that they're not living the way that they should be living, and so they immediately know that they would be, like, out of place. But the truth is the church should be welcoming and welcoming everyone, but there is that conviction of the heart, and so the truth does pierce the heart, and it lets us know whether we're in right standing with God or not. And so it is uncomfortable when we're not. And so that is part of the convicting truth. And so I do think that is actually a reason why some people don't want to go to the truth. And so that's not an excuse for us to be brash or brazen or however these fancy words work, just be like bold and like, oh, I'm just going to, be rough around the edges. But to understand that this naturally happens anyways with a good intention. So we need to be extra careful and cautious. And even when we do end up offending someone or not even judging them, but they feel judged, to love them and to be aware of that. And so, since we know what it's like to feel judged, we want people to feel loved. And so Jesus made sinners and outcasts of society feel loved. Jesus was able to do this somehow, but then he also turned a lot of people away. We can't be blind to that fact. Like when Jesus said some things, and once he started preaching, a lot of people started walking away. So let's be honest. When Jesus was partying Jesus and he's hanging around with everyone, a lot of people felt welcomed by him because he wasn't actually judging them. Okay? Although at the end of the world, Jesus is going to judge everybody, but he wasn't like judgy with the judgmental spirit. He wasn't looking down upon them. He came down to humanity to be a human being. And so Jesus is with everyone, and everyone feels welcome and accepted. But then Jesus starts preaching, okay, and then we start seeing a lot of people, the Jews that believed in God and sinners that did or didn't. We see a lot of people walking away from Jesus when he started proclaiming the truth. And so I think we need to be aware of that. And so I want to end with this here. And then I'll have you read off the question in a second here to end with. But this is a question for reflection. I want you guys to, you don't have to answer this right now, but I want you to think about this as we close. This is the last thing today. Do you have anything else you want to say? Just don't judge people. So question for reflection. Before you think you're better than other people, as a Christian, you're not, but you're better off. Ask yourself this question. I'll end with you.
Do I have a log in my eye, and what is it? Since you're okay with helping remove your brother's speck, would you be okay having someone help you remove yours?
Think about that. I'm going to read that one more time.
Do I have a log in my eye, and what is it? Since you are okay with helping remove your brother's speck, would you be okay having someone help you remove yours?
Yeah, if we're so quick to point out other people and help them fix their problems, I think we need to be okay with allowing other people to help us fix ours.
Yeah.
I think Jesus is getting at that too. Well, I hope you guys have learned something today and taken something to heart, and that you guys had a moment of reflection, that you guys continue to thinking about this. I mean, we're here to talk with you guys. If you want to call us up or text us, and we're here to pray with you guys too. So we love you guys.
Love you.
Bye.